So we've basically broken phase two, what we're going to call three phases: north, central, and south. And within each of those zones, for lack of a better description, there's going to be different things that we're observing and different things we're interested in, and different things that we don't know yet. So we're going to want to hear from you. Along the north, at least what we're aware of right now is that there's projects that have been recently developed, which are changing the character of the corridor. And there's projects intended to happen soon, which will affect the character of the corridor. In the central region, that's the green oval in the middle, that area is largely developed. There have been some recent developments like the loft apartment right there next to the Catholic school. But that area is largely developed, but still there's room for some improvements in there from a roadway corridor standpoint. And then the southern zone is very interesting and very starkly different than the other two. It remains largely undeveloped. It still has a lot of remnants of an older rural road. It's hard to say that it has a lot of character to it. It kind of seems like this forgotten stretch between where the county kind of starts and the city kind of starts. And certainly there's some safety concerns in that area as well. So some of the questions we'll revisit in a little more detail in a few moments are, these are guiding questions. These are not, we can listen to feedback really about anything you want to share about. But within the north section, we're curious to hear from you, the CAC, and the citizens of the area. How can this phase two study influence and guide some of the frontage conditions of these developments that are coming in the near term? What would you like to see there? What is needed from your perspective? In the central zone, we're curious to hear from you specifically what amenities you think are missing along that portion of the corridor, or are there safety improvements in that portion of the corridor? And then along the southern portion, how do you use this portion of the road? How do you see this portion of the road needing to be used? And what would you like to see in that area of the road? Here's a few context images to kind of help us all really be on the same page about how we're describing things. This is an aerial image of the northern portion of phase two Rio Road, with what will be the Rio Point development on the left. And here, this portion of the roadway we've characterized as a neighborhood collector street. Still has a little bit of rural character left, but that probably won't be the case for much longer. And the right-of-way is relatively constrained between 40 and 60 feet. And this is a part of the roadway that's really transitioning toward Rio Road from phase one, where it's, starkly different visually and characteristically with its four-lane divided highway. Here's an aerial image of the central portion of phase two, the central zone, which we're still characterizing largely as a neighborhood collector street. But the right-of-way has gotten much broader here, maybe overly broad, to be honest. It's quite broad in front of the loft apartments. And strangely, there's a little bit of a urban context with these buildings and their frontage conditions. So that's definitely a noticeable difference. But there are sidewalks with buffer strips, which is great. And here's an image of the southern zone. And as you all know, this is a very tricky part of the corridor to really want to define in any context. It's a twisting, turning road that feels like it could be unsafe. There's no pedestrian amenities. The right-of-way varies and the topography is tricky. So this is an area we're going to be very keen to hear from you, but also to see what opportunities are available. Here's a quick breakdown of what we know is happening and what we're currently aware of. And if you see something missing, please let us know. Obviously, the left side of your screen, that's the John Warner Parkway. And on the right side of your screen, that's the city jurisdictional boundary. So we're going to move from left to right. The John Warner Parkway Rye Road intersection is a known project that will happen soon. Number two, there's a county sidewalk project happening currently where they're improving some pedestrian facilities along Rio Road in that area. Three, Rio Point development and the zoning map amendment, which when I wrote this, it was pending. It's no longer pending, as I understand. So there's a project happening there. 4, the Rio Commons development. Again, I think that's a by right development, so that's happening also soon. 5, there was a roundabout study done in the past of Penn Park Road at Waldorf School. There was a small roundabout study conducted there, which we'll lean on to learn a little bit about what they know from that study. Number 6, there's a county sidewalk project just south of Penn Park Road. Number 7, there was an intersection study done at Penfield Lane, or Penn Park Lane. And so that's another group of data set that we're going to lean on and learn from. And 8, although I have no understanding of when or what will happen with Eco Village, but it's certainly something I've heard a lot of talk about and seen a sign up for years. And I imagine at some point there will be something that happens there. So there is stuff happening on this portion of the corridor. And our hope is that you can help us color in the lines so we can understand more about these things. So this is where I'm actually going to stop talking for the moment, and I can talk more if you want me to, but really, I want to open the floor to the CAC, members of the CAC, or even citizens who are joining. We'd love to learn what you learn what you know, and hear from you about your experiences, about what's missing and what you'd like to see, so that as we start to get into phase 2, we can be equipped with as many experiential data points as we can. So I'm just going to stop. I'm going to give it back to you, Lee, and let you maybe help guide folks answering questions and sharing their insights. And we'll be taking notes and listening.
Okay. Any comments so far from anybody? Judy. You're muted, Judy. Still can't hear you. Well, I guess while. Okay, Judy, can I hear you? Oh, she's still working on it.
No, not happening.
In the interest of time, how about we go to Audrey? You had something to say, so go ahead, Audrey, and we'll get back to Judy then as soon as she gets through.
Regarding the southern portion of this map, I use this road to get to and from other places. I don't do any stopping along the way. What I don't like about the area is the urban nature of it. I don't think the setback is deep enough on properties. And so future properties, I would like to see greater setback. So it retains that rural nature, but yet provides housing and that need for more housing. That's all.
So in the southern portion, Audrey, you'd like to see that whatever happens there be with a more generous setback in terms of how buildings relate to the roadway.
Yes. I feel with the curves and stuff, I need to pay attention to the road, but then there's the looming buildings all around, and it just is distracting. And I'd like to see we preserve that rural part of that road.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Oh, I have one other issue. I don't know how many families are going to be in this area and how many children are being projected, but I did an informal little study from Woodbrook down to to the end of Rio, and there are no facilities for teenage kids and kids over 5 to play. And I think that roadway without adequate sidewalks is too hard to get to Penn Park. So more recreational facilities.
Great.
Right,
yeah, thank you. That's really good. Thank you, Audrey.
Welcome.
Okay, Judy, you want to try again?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So good evening, Daniel. I have a question that's sort of an offshoot from last night's Board of Supervisors meeting. They talked about the traffic circle and the fact that there is surveying started. Can you tell me exactly where the surveying is started? And are we talking about the VDOT plan or your plan?
There, we're talking about the VDOT plan, Judy. Daniel's
Okay.
probably not going to have very much information on that.
Okay. So where exactly have they started the surveying?
What do you mean? Where the footprint of the Smart Scale application is designed,
Okay.
the current intersection.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Where is my David? Am I wrong on that?
No, you're correct. What they typically do, and I don't know the great details of it, but they will do a survey of the general area. That's the sort of the beginning process of their plan. So they know where the boundaries are and what size of the properties and such. So it's a very early and first step in the planning process, but it's for the VDOT proposal.
All right, Rick, you're next.
Okay. Thanks, Daniel. Several thoughts and comments. The first is that Ryle Road over the past 20, 30 years has really, in many ways, changed its orientation in the sense that the main road now, starting in 29 and goes down Ryle Road and then continues on the John Warner Parkway as the main artery. The piece that we're now talking about in phase 2, I'm almost beginning to refer to as Old Ryle Road, because it really was intended when VDOT built the John Warner Parkway and built the intersection at KTEC, they deliberately intended for traffic to proceed down Ryle Road and then down the Parkway. They did not, and that's why they made it difficult to make a turn from Ryle at that intersection onto the section of Ryle Road that we're now considering. It was never supposed to be the continuous or the preferred route, let's put it that way. Preferred route was to go down the Parkway. So when I look at Old Ryle Road, one of the things that concerns me, if we look at the north section, we're really going to be in a situation of trying to figure out how to accommodate another big chunk of housing being built there on the, I guess what would be the southern side of the north portion of Ryle Road. And how do we figure out, right there, how do we figure out how to get people into and out of those new developments in a reasonable fashion? So that's the first part. Second part is, if you look at the central section, what I think I absolutely agree with you that it's over wide. What happens in practicality is that people coming, let's say, from KTEC, and I can never figure out whether that's going east or going south or whatever it is, but going from KTEC toward downtown, traffic flows along that section of Ryle Road, and when it gets to when it gets to the light at Penn Park, you're still kind of on a, as you say, a more rural collector road. It opens up there in front of Treesdale and the lofts, but people going in that direction tend not to speed up because they know that southern section is coming, unless they are not from around here. But if they're from around here, they know that section's coming, and you crest the hill at Stonehenge, and they slow down because you can't see from that point forward. However, if you're going in the other direction and you're coming up that S curve, up the hill, you get to Stonehenge, you crest that hill, and all of a sudden you've got this wide open vista, and people who have been frustrated at coming up through those S curves decide this is the place where I can speed up and going in that direction.
Mm.
And if they happen to get lucky and the light at Penn Park Road is green, they're able to, they move right through there and they'll be hitting 45 miles an hour coming past Dunlora Forest because of that open area in front of the Treesdale and the lofts. What I would like to see is I'd like to see this whole road, as Audrey points out, be more of a collector road, have more of a neighborhood rural type character, which would mean taking that central section and really scaling it back. Now, in terms of how that road gets used, quite honestly, what happens is people who want to go to the west side of downtown, they want to go to either the 250 bypass or they want to go downtown down McIntyre Road and get to the west side of downtown Charlottesville, will go down Ryle Road and take the Parkway. People who want to go to the east side of downtown, they either want to go to the Court Square mall side of downtown, or they want to get to the 250 bypass, as far east as they can go. They're the ones who are going to take Ryle Road, Old Ryle Road, down through Park Street and either get on the 250 bypass at the Park Street interchange or continue on downtown to the Court Square area. So they're using it. So it really, it divides right there as to what your destination is. In terms of, usage for that particular area, I think Audrey's absolutely right. It's mostly for through traffic. Not very many people are going to find reasons to stop there unless they're heading for Penn Park. Now, I will say that I personally am not in favor of having a roundabout at Penn Park Road, because then there will be no breaks in the traffic. Now, we talk about roundabouts and we say, yeah, the roundabouts are great because you can keep traffic moving. But if we have a roundabout at K-Tech, we have another roundabout at Penn Park Road, there's nothing to stop the traffic to allow people to get in and out of either. You can, to try to get onto Ryle Road at that point, there's no brakes. The traffic light creates a break in the traffic flow. So those are my main concerns and comments.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. That's really good to hear. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I also, I want to make sure that as we get as many folks also sharing as possible, I think it might be good to keep our time to maybe 3 to 4 minutes so I can hear as many folks as possible. But I do appreciate everything you said, Rick. So, Audrey, is your hand back up?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Go for it.
While there's an interest in preserving the ruralness of the old Ryle Road, I really believe that the intention of that road is to pull traffic off the John Warner Parkway. Just as along 29, you built parallel roads to take the traffic off 29. I think that's what's happening to this road. And the Ryle Road, the old Ryle Road, is not set up for that. The county and the powers that be in the city and the county gave up the idea of making John Warner a 4-lane highway. And now we're stuck. And so now there's this effort to I think, to make Old Ryle Road a parallel road to John Warner to take off traffic. And that is wrong. And I think that's inappropriate. Sorry to be so frank.
No, thank you. And I for some reason, my video feed stopped, but I can still hear everyone. I hope you can hear me as well.
Yep. Judy, do you have
Okay,
something
go on.
additional to say yet? Now I can't hear you again, on mute.
Yeah,
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I had some additional thoughts. So as construction is going along, I'm hoping that both the people from VDOT as well as Line and Grade will be very, very sensitive, at least for the present time, about the field of flowers. There was one day that I came by and there were a whole bunch of trucks parked right in the middle of it. You know, those flowers are having a real difficult time in growing. Let's give them a half a chance as long as they're going to be there. So if you will make sure that your construction people are aware of that, that would be appreciated. So that was number one. And then to sort of piggyback on what Rick was saying about the traffic flow, last night with Rio Point, it was brought up about the left at the exit left-hand turn. And I think that that's another section that you're going to have to be very, very much in tune as to how the traffic is going to flow coming out of Rio Point or going into for that left turn when you're coming up from the downtown area.
Okay.
Thank
Nancy?
you, Judy.
Nancy?
Yes, I have one process point. I see that Tom is there. Tom, I've been taking minutes, but if you're on deck, maybe you can pick up at this point.
Okay. Okay, Daniel, it looks like that's the extent of the,
I'm not, Tom didn't answer. Does that mean he, even though I saw a picture of him, he's not going to take the minutes?
I think he gave a thumbs up, so.
Oh, well, that didn't show on my screen, so.
Yeah, I'll do it,
Sorry.
Nancy. I'll start. Thank you. And you
And
can send me what you've got sometime. Appreciate it.
I'll coordinate with you.
Thank you.
I also have actually a substantive point, and that is, I find it difficult to comprehend why we would want what is a somewhat significant roadway into the city should remain rural when pretty much this entire area has the potential for fairly dense development. So I don't need to have a big discussion about that, but I would just register that point with Daniel.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate your thoughts.
Rick, do you have another comment or, well, go ahead. No, you don't?
Well, the only thing I can say is that I think we have to realize the fact that the city is not going to improve Park Street. So having a roadway that has a greater carrying capacity that goes into a city street is probably not going to create, the kind of objective that we were looking for moving traffic. That's all I can say about that.
No, that's good. It's good
All
note.
right. I think in the absence of any further comments, Daniel, go ahead and proceed.
No, this is what I'm here for. I'm here for like
okay.
as much I'm here for boots on the ground experience and listening to folks, and anything you want to share, we're here to listen to. The only thing I think I would make a comment on, just for clarity, I think is to Mrs. Slushel. And I don't know how much sway I'm going to have on what does or doesn't have at the flower garden, but I'll certainly make note and share that with someone. But that we're not proposing anything there at this time, so I'm not sure how much effort I can do to move the needle one way or the other. But I'll share your thoughts.
Nancy, you have another comment? Your hand's still up.
No, I have another comment.
Go ahead.
It doesn't, if there's no more comments on phase 2, Marty thought we could also comment on phase 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna restrict that though. Because yeah, we're very limited on time. So we'll hold off on phase one comments.
And will
I
we
have- I have
have
a
a
question.
future opportunity? Will we have a future opportunity to weigh in on phase one in January?
Apparently, yes.
Of course, yeah, of course. We're trying to keep the conversations at least somewhat siloed because there's such different roadways, as you all are helping us continue to learn. I have a question for folks who live kind of, really along the northern section of this. If anyone here lives, closer nearby between John Warner and Penn Park Road, but for the school morning and afternoon hours, when people are, I presume that there's a lot of traffic associated with the Waldorf school and the Catholic school with regard to drop off and pickup. But that's more of just an intellectual exercise for me. I'm curious if you notice increased traffic certain times of day, or if it's unbearable during certain times of day, really related to, I think, when I'm saying the school pickup drop off, but really you can go with that any way you want. But we're curious how those schools affect some of this, these peak hour factors. Go ahead, Rick.
I can speak to that in the sense that I live in Dunlower Forest. So
Okay.
Now, it's interesting. The Waldorf school doesn't really have a large impact time-wise. First of all, their enrollment is very small. I think it's only 130 some students. So the comings and goings there don't seem to make much of a difference in the overall traffic flow. Catholic school, on the other hand, has a much larger enrollment, and of course, because they're not providing with bus service, everybody comes by personal car. The thing that benefits the Catholic school is if you look at their layout of the campus, they have the ability to stack a large number of cars on their property, which they do in the afternoons, particularly for pickup time. They have a way to stack probably 50 or 60 cars in there waiting to pick kids up. I think, really the impact is heavier on Penn Park Road than it is on Ryle Road. Ryle Road, they just kind of blend in with the rest of the traffic, but on Penn Park Road, it gets pretty heavy and congested for the Catholic school during the morning and afternoon hours.
That's a great distinction to make. Thank you, Rick.
Which is another reason why
Tom,
you may find a roundabout at that area could be a problem rather than a benefit.
Yeah, thank you. Tom, I see your hand up. Do you have some thoughts to share?
Yeah, for the most part, you don't see a lot of traffic from the school, except occasionally a couple times a year, they have some school-wide events, and there are people just parked all up and down Penn Park Lane and all over the place, and it gets a little dangerous at times. But that's like 3 or 4 times a year. It seems like we have these city or school-wide events. That's the only thing. I don't think there's much you can do about it, but it does occur.
Thank you. Do you have more to say, Tom? I see your hand still up. Okay. Ms.
Judy?
Schlussel, go ahead. I see your hands up. Judy,
Yes.
is your hand up to?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you are. Go ahead.
As far as traffic, the typical time when people are going to work and when people are returning home is when you see somewhat large backups at the lights.
When you say backups, are you talking about it at Penn Park Road or backups at the current light at John Warner as well, or both?
Yes to both. Yes to
Okay.
both. Yes, because sometimes the traffic
Great.
is backed up. Oh, I'd say is sometimes almost as far as till Belvedere. I've seen it. In the evening, not so much. I think, well, traffic's going the opposite way in the morning, but in the morning it seems to be when people are leaving and the traffic is headed, into the city or up Rio to head up 29 North. So that's another high traffic impact time.
Great. Thank you.
I guess I'll make one comment, Daniel, if I can. Where the S
Sure,
curve
go
is,
for it.
the area circled in red.
Yep.
I mean, not only is that fairly unsafe in terms of traffic, but it's worse for bicycles. So yeah, if there was some way to maybe straighten that a bit or at least widen it, I'm sure that would help. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, no, we're scratching our heads there for sure. It's definitely not safe for a bike or a pedestrian. Brian, I see your hands up. We haven't heard from you. Do you have some thoughts to share with us?
I actually have more of a question for the people that travel it more often than I. What impact does no trucks being allowed on the parkway have on that section of road? Because if they come down Rio, that they have to take what we've been calling Old Rio, right, to get to 29 to 250, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, actually, Brian, I don't believe trucks are supposed to proceed down Rio at all past Fashion Square. There's a sign there that says no through trucks.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. So yeah, that I was just something I was thinking of because I know there's no trucks on the parkway.
Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. And really, you don't notice when there really aren't any large trucks that come down this section of Rio Road unless they're lost.
I believe trucks are routed down Hillsdale Drive before they get that far.
Okay, I've got a few moments left and I see two hands up. Let's see if we can get to Nancy and Audrey. Your hand's been up long. Let's go to Audrey and then Nancy.
I have a general question. When Judy mentioned the backup at Penn Park, and that'll eventually become a circle, my question is about a general question about circles. Is there a point at which traffic gets too heavy for a circle to be helpful?
Like any intersection, too much traffic will put it into a non-functioning level of service. So if you have a circle or a light, they all have a certain threshold at which they won't operate properly.
Well, then how long will these circles be effective down the road before some major other kind of change is needed? Like an eastern bypass?
Well, I can't speak a whole lot to that yet. I'm not certain that there will be a roundabout at Penn Park Road. That's a previous study that we've inherited as something to think about. I don't know that our study will also recommend that. And in terms of, just because I've thought about it a lot more, the roundabout at John Warner, the VDOT designed roundabout, that's mostly a dual lane roundabout for most movements. And a dual lane roundabout can carry an immense amount of traffic, an immense amount. So I presume that roundabout will be sufficient well into the future, probably to the point where people aren't even using cars anymore. We're using hoverboards or something. So I presume it's going to be fine for a long time.
So that
Yeah,
Penn
go
Park,
ahead, Nancy. Oh, I'm sorry, Audrey. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
so that Penn Park roundabout is still theoretical. That's not a done deal.
Very much. Yeah.
Whoa.
No.
Okay. I'm finished.
Nancy, go ahead. And I think we're going to aim for this to be our last question, if that's okay. Go ahead, Nancy.
It's not a question. It's really, well, sort of is a question. To Brian's point, the signs do on John Warner Parkway say no trucks, but if you travel John Warner with any regularity, you'll see that there's no enforcement of that provision, and there's some pretty significant trucks. It doesn't specify what kind of no trucks. I don't think I've ever seen a double semi come through there, but seen some very large vehicles that were, and some of them are county and city vehicles. And the same is true. I would think that as you go down Rio, the one reason you wouldn't want to go down Rio South if you were a big truck is it's a bit of a difficult road to maneuver unless you're going to Home Advantage or whatever that home repair operation is.
Yeah. No, thank you for your thoughts. I know on my end, and I'm personally gonna summarize with this. I'll start by saying, to the greatest degree possible, we'd like to keep this conversation going. And it's silo, and you can see why. I think I love the term Old Rio Road, and I'm going to start using that almost exclusively, I think, to talk about phase 2. We want to hear, as you have experiences or thoughts over the weeks ahead, feel free to drop them to someone at the county or to me directly so we can receive your thoughts, your experiences. We've heard some interesting things tonight that I had not considered, so thank you. We'll come back and talk to you about this again soon. I think the next time we talk to you, it'll be about phase 1 again, and we'll be reporting back on kind of trying to put a button and a bow on that, the phase 1 study, and then focus the rest of our efforts on phase 2 for the months ahead in early 2022. But again, thank you for your time, each of you. Thank you for your feedback. And we do want to continue the dialogue, so feel free to share your thoughts with us as they come to you. With that, Lee, I'm going to pass this back to you and try to sign off unless there's any kind of final remarks I need to hear.
I don't think so. So Daniel, thank you for the presentation, and we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.